Okay. So I thought it would be good, because as I said, what we've been doing in this, focusing on Shaar HaBitachon as it were, a refuah to the worries and the concerns of this extraordinarily difficult time that we find ourselves in, almost a surreal time. I was saying to somebody earlier on, if I'd said 2 years ago, as a friend of mine, we enjoy a single malt whiskey together whenever I'm in London. Very good friend of mine called Alan Goldberg. And I said, Alan, if I'd said to you a couple of years ago when we were sipping malt whiskey together, that, you know, in a couple of years' time, I bet we'll be going through an epidemic that will, you know, spread throughout the whole world and paralyze it. He would have said, you're not drinking anymore. You've obviously had far too much. And yet here we find ourselves in this situation. So we've been dipping in as we've been going through Shaar HaBitachon because we anticipated it being laughingly 2 weeks and then everybody would be out their houses. It seems more like 2 months, and that would be an optimistic analysis. Anyway, however, I want to go to chapter 5. If those of you who are not like Eric out walking a dog, unless, and I would not be surprised, that Eric has a copy of my translation of Shaar HaBitachon, Refuah, and he probably takes it with him when he goes dog walking. I can see him holding it in front of him and holding the dog in front of it. This would come as no surprise to me whatsoever. What do you mean you're shaking your head? Go and come to this house and you'll get one. Anyway, for a discounted price, dogs. What can I do with you? Anyway, I want to see if we can actually go through the whole of chapter 5 in it's 9:05, so that would give us, let's see if we can do that. And that would be set us up to finish 6 and 7, the end, in a sense, I've completed the whole Sefer in our 12 sessions together. Okay, so I'm not translating the Hebrew because my translation already translated the Hebrew, so I have nothing to prove. Anyway, so I want to tell you that Ramat Solomon, I think I mentioned this at the beginning of my translation, but he certainly said to me, if Shaar HaBitachon had never been written down, it would have to been developed as a therapy, as a psychological therapy, as a positive psychological therapy. So now let me explain, he starts off in chapter 5, the difference between someone who engages in money-making activities, parnosa, and has bitachon, and someone who follows precisely the same path, but has no faith in Hashem. This is clearly something which is worrying, I'm sure, all of us at this moment in time. So it's chapter 5 addresses what you should do about confronting how do I make a parnosa? How do I pay my bills? So he says the first difference between the two is that if you're certain in your trust in Hashem, if you've got bitachon in Hashem, then you are content with whatever he sends your way. You're grateful to him in both positive and negative circumstances. Now that's a very, very big statement. So let me read it again. We're doing a contrast between, when it comes to parnosa, somebody who has bitachon in Hashem and somebody who doesn't. So suppose you do have bitachon in Hashem, then you're certain that whatever Hashem sends your way, you're grateful to him in both positive and negative circumstances. I saw in our Rav's grandfather's book, Scheinberg wrote a beautiful book. It's a fabulous book, Derech Amunah and Bitachon, and he says, he quotes the Yaivitch, Yonason Abishitz. I can't remember if I quoted this to you already, and he says, Misha Oisa is Iker. Somebody who's got bitachon and sees this world as merely transitory, a staging post to Olam Haba. Then he's got no problems dealing with the question of tzaddik v'ralai, why do bad things happen. Or, as Michael Briss says, I think I did tell you this, he put it, quoting somebody else, if you're a Baal B'tochen, there are no questions. If you're not a Baal B'tochen, there are no answers. So he's saying that if you're on that level, when whatever comes along, then you know this comes from Hashem. What seems bad ultimately isn't bad. And we all know the Biala Rebbe, the Rav of my old shul, before I moved to New York, the shul I davened in was the son of the Biala Rebbe, Reb Leibel Rabinovitz, and we're old friends from Gateshead days. And I was once asked to say shir, and I quoted the Biala Rebbe, which you see him, you sort of shut up. I was very interested. The Biala Rebbe said, when Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to Har Sinai, he sees a vision of Hashem, and Hashem is wearing tefillin. And the bit that he sees, the tefillin, is the knot at the back. And now this is the prophecy, and of course it's not meant to be taken literally, because in order to have tefillin, or to wear tefillin, you need two things, tefillin and a head, and Hashem has neither. But it was merely a prophecy, and therefore it's up to the prophet to interpret the message that's being conveyed in the image that's being shown to him. And what was that message? That is, you only see Hashem looking back the way. It was the back of the tefillin, and not. You only see it looking back. At the time, we think, why is this happening? How many times in your life or other people's lives have they said, at the time I thought it was the worst thing that could happen, but now? So a person, and of course, we're always very quick when things go wrong, as we'll see in a second, to put God in trial and blame him. However, if you get trust in Hashem, if you get talking to Hashem, then whatever he sends your way, you've got to talk on this for the good, even if it doesn't strike you as being for the good at the moment. Because you'll look back and you'll see it. And again, as we said in our early sharing, we don't see the whole picture. That's the flaw of humanity. We don't see the whole picture, but draw conclusions as though we do. Hashem sees the whole picture. So he says, you're grateful to him in both positive and negative circumstances. And then he quotes Eob. That's what it means when the Pasuk says, in Eob, Hashem gives and Hashem takes. Let the name of Hashem be blessed. Of course, that's what we say when we go to Alabaya. Then, of course, this famous Pasuk from Eob, Hashem nosen v'Hashem lekach, Hashem mavorach, Hashem gives life and he takes it away. But Hashem mavorach, but we give bracha to Hashem, even though we don't understand the whole cycle and why it all happens. And then he quotes Tehillim, and David HaMelech says the same thing. I receive your kindness and your judgment. I will still sing to you. Whether it seems to be strongly against me or in favor of me, I'll still sing because I know it's all for the good. That's because of good b'tochen in Hashem. And as he said before, I know that nobody loves me as much as he does. And sometimes a father is strict with a kid. And sometimes the father says no. And we don't get that. And we don't get it. The human condition. Okay. If someone does not, so that's our reaction as somebody has b'tochen. If someone does not have certainty in Hashem, when things are going well in his business career, he will congratulate himself. Yeah, I made those deals. I anticipated the moves in the market. For his cleverness and achievements. As David HaMelech says, a wicked person praises his personal desires. He thinks he's quite the Kanaka. But when things go badly in his financial dealings, so when things go well, it's me. When things go badly, he rails against Hashem and blames him. And well, of course he does. As I said before, we're very quick to put God in trial. And as God doesn't defend himself, so it's very easy to convict him. It's only a Baal B'tochen who might look beyond the immediacy of the courthouse in that particular moment of judgment. The second difference is that when you have certainty in Hashem, you enjoy contentment and peace of mind, whatever challenges Hashem sends you. Again, to quote Ramat Sion, then there is the using Shaar HaBitachon as a therapy. You have peace of mind. The reason is that your simple conviction that Hashem sends all challenges ultimately for our good. Gamzu Latoiba is something that we mean. Both in this world and the next. David HaMelech said this when he wrote, through Hashem alone, my soul is silent because Hashem is my hope. I assume that's I have to quickly look over at the page here. My soul will only be peaceful through Hashem. It's something we said at the beginning, right at the very beginning of Shaar HaBitachon. He says, unless you've got b'tochen on Hashem, you will have a life full of worry. But if you really have b'tochen on Hashem, my soul is at peace. And of course, he had a life which is dramatically filled with all sorts of challenges and things that make the current coronavirus look like nothing. Of course, he went through Dever and an epidemic in his time, but also had a son who tried to kill him and various other people who tried to kill him, etc., etc. We know his story is dramatic in the extreme. But he said, I was content. Why is it b'tochen in Hashem? If you get to a level of b'tochen in Hashem, that's why you'd have to write it as a therapy. Except, of course, no secular therapist would be able to convince his clients, his patients or her patients, that they should adopt this lifestyle and perspective. You can only do that if you believe in Hashem. And of course, we're reaching very quickly the festival, the Chag, the Yontif, which establishes, as I keep saying in our sessions together, it's not blind faith. Our Amunah, our B'tochen is built on proof that was Yetzias Mitzrayim. So what can we say? Somebody does not have trust in Hashem, worries constantly, experiences pain and depression. Whether his situation is good or bad. I don't know about you, but I'm a bit of a worrier. But certainly people, who have got no faith in Hashem, what's going to happen with the stock market? And it all falls to bits. He's unhappy because he feels a sense of uncertainty and insecurity, always thinking he has to strive and struggle to have more than he has. And if you remember our discussion about the alchemist in the beginning of the Sefer, we talked, I think, contrasted somebody who could make gold, and surely that would be better than somebody, that has been the best thing in the world. No, he's constantly uncertain and worries. And I certainly know somebody who's extraordinarily rich, who spends his entire life, glued to the computer screens in his offices, looking to see what's happening with the markets. They're going up, they're going down. I've got to move. And he's got no life. And sadly, nor does his family. When things go badly, he's unhappy and depressed by it. So when the things go well, he's upset. And difficulties derail his hopes for pleasure and challenge his entire character and nature. And Shlomo Melech says that when he says in Mishlei 15:15, all days of a poor man are wretched, but a happy heart, whole life is a celebration. Of a poor man are wretched, that doesn't mean poor materially, it means poor in his hashkafa and his philosophy. But a happy heart and a whole life is celebration. If you could ever be talking about shit, then you're not worried. You're not going to be depressed. The third difference between the two is demonstrated in how they view the means of gaining their livelihood. If you trust Hashem, then trust Hashem. You do not rely on those means, the means of your parnasa. You do not hope that they will bring you benefit or worry that they will harm you. That will only happen if Hashem wants it to happen. The reason that you engage in them at all, in parnasa at all, as we previously explained, is only as a means to fulfill Hashem's requirements to engage in worldly affairs in order to secure your livelihood. And as we said in our very important last session, and to secure your health. Of course, health and death comes from the Gazar Din. Hashem still expects you to do your ishtadlus, and he still expects you to do your ishtadlus for your livelihood, but a Baal B'Tachon knows that ultimately the person who's going to give them livelihood is Hashem. If your livelihood benefits you or spares you from harm, you feel gratitude solely towards Hashem with your career or profession. Nor will you commit yourself to more to it as a consequence of your success. You won't say, I have to do more, and do more, and be in the office more. And these people who want to become senior partners in firms, in whether it's in money, in Wall Street, or in law firms, it's the same in the UK where I come from, or in the States, they're expecting slavery. When you give up your life, not at all. You earn just enough, as the famous story of the Orachaim HaKodesh, in order to secure your month's income, and that's it. Then you start working, and you start and learn. Rather, your reliance is on Hashem. It will grow instead. You will depend on Him alone. I don't have to put more into it. That's it. I've got my money for the month. On the other hand, if your means of livelihood does not produce that income you hoped, all right, your trust Hashem will produce it when He sees fit through some other means. Conversely, someone who does not trust Hashem seeks a career or livelihood believing it will give you the benefits and the security. If it does, he credits it to his career. I chose a good career. I'm a doctor. Well, I'm an accountant. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a dentist. Anything else Jewish I've missed out? You're getting the idea. If it does, he credits it to his career and his wisdom in choosing that career. If his fortunes change, he changes his career too, seeking another that he believes will deliver success instead. Because it's careers that bring me money, isn't it? No. Habakkuk talks about this. He offers sacrifices to his fishing net and burns incense to a successful troll. He believes that the net delivers the fish, not that Hashem puts the fish into the net. The fourth difference is seen when success brings wealth. Someone who has certainty in Hashem will donate any excess money, this is important, with a generous heart to projects that brings Hashem pleasure. As it says, he makes a posuk from Divrei Yomim, everything comes from you, and from your hand I give it to you. Good. Someone who does not believe in Hashem feels that nothing in the entire world is sufficient for his income and his needs. I just got to get more, getting more. He holds on to his money, keeping it from being used for his obligations towards Hashem or towards other people. He's not giving tzedakah. Eventually, he's likely to lose all his wealth and become destitute, and Shlomo Melech talks about that. The fifth difference, we're actually going to get to here tonight, I think, is that someone who trusts in Hashem engages in wealth-earning activities in this world as an investment to accompany him on his journey to the next. They will finance his permanent stay there. I don't know if he said that or I translated that, but I think that's a good line. Again, the fifth difference is that somebody who trusts in Hashem engages in wealth-earning activities, in other words, you avoid the mafia, in this world as an investment to accommodate him in his journey to the next. they will finance his permanent state. From this perspective, he seeks only wealth-earning activities that produce currency that is accepted in heaven. These are activities that he clearly knows will not detract from his ability to keep the Torah fully. He will avoid any activity that detracts from this ambition, even fractionally. He does not want, as it were, to exchange the illness for the cure. I remember quickly, if I can tell you a story, the Stipler Gun, one of my great teachers was somebody called Rabbi Mordechai Miller of Gateshead Girls Seminary. I must point out, I never attended Gateshead Girls Seminary, but the same sharing he gave to the girls, he used to give to the boys in the Shiva as well, and the Kowloon in Gateshead, which was full. People squished together to hear the words of Rabbi Miller, one of the great Talmidim of Rabbi Dessler. And he told once a story. In Gateshead was not a rich community, probably still isn't, I don't know. But when I lived there, I think there was 2 families who had money in the entire community. And one of them, Rabbi Miller, had gone to B'nai Brak to get a bracha from the Stipler, and to ask advice for issues in the seminary. And included in that, asking advice, there was a list of girls, interesting story, I'm going off slightly at a tangent, of girls who had graduated from the seminary, got married, and were struggling to have children. So he had a long list, and he asked the Stipler to give them a bracha. So the Stipler took the list, and he read down the names of the girls, etc., etc. And then he missed one, he skipped one, didn't say that name, and went on to the next one. And he missed 3 or 4 girls. And after he gave them the bracha, Rabbi Miller said, "You, forgive me, but you missed out some of the names." So did I? And the Stipler went through the list again. And again, he missed out the exact same 3 names. And again, Rabbi Miller said, "You missed out the 3 names." And the Stipler said, "Which ones?" So Rabbi Miller pointed to the 3 girls' names that he had missed out. The Stipler looked at them and said to Rabbi Miller, "Tell them to keep Teres Mishpacha properly." Rabbi Miller came back and obviously passed on the message, and the result was that each of these 3 girls who had been denied children were pregnant and had babies that year. But the point that I tell you the story, the reason I'm telling the story is because one of the rich families in Gateshead, one of the 2, rich families in Gateshead had asked him to ask a shayla for them on their behalf, to send him Rabbi Miller as a shliach. And so he indeed asked the question and got the answer. And then Rabbi Miller took out from his pocket the envelope that the family had given to pass to the Stipler. And in it was dollars or pound notes, whatever it was. And he passed this across the table. And he said, "You should have seen the look of contempt in the face of the Stipler when he realized that there was money inside the envelope. And he said, "Was is dos? What's this?" So Rabbi Miller, realizing he'd made a mistake and created a faux pas, as they say in French, explained that it's for Irish tzedakahs, for your charities. The Stipler looked at it and pushed it back across the table and said, "It's felt tzedakahs in Gateshead. There are no tzedakahs in Gateshead. It wouldn't take the money." And indeed, there's many stories of the Stipler when people tried to give him money for tzedakahs he was collecting from. He would somehow be able to know that those shekel notes or dollar bills or pound notes or whatever it was came from a non-kosher source, and he wouldn't take the money. There are many stories of that about holy men who were able to know that the source of the finances people were trying to offer them for holy causes were not produced from holy activities and refused it. So from this perspective, he seeks, that's the Baal B'tachon, only wealthy earning activities that produce currency that is accepted in heaven. I love that. So there is currency that is accepted in heaven. And one of the, as it were, the shlichim of heaven, the Stipler, showed you that. These are the activities he clearly knows will not detract from his ability to keep Torah. He will avoid any activity that detracts from his ambition, even fractionally. He doesn't want, as it were, to exchange the illness for the cure. A person who does not trust in Hashem will seek wealth by any means possible, whether proper or improper, legal or illegal. He will rely on those means and give little or no thought to the afterlife. The afterlife, what afterlife? Regarding this, Shlomo Melech says, a wise person considers and runs from evil, and a fool is overconfident and certain. The 6th difference, let's see if we can get this in, is related to one's interactions with other people. If you trust in Hashem, then you're fond of human beings. And they, in turn, like and trust you. They know that you will cause them no loss because you're a Baal B'tachon. So you don't have to cheat in business. You don't have to inflate your profit margins. They know Rabbi Reich, Mr. Reichman, the famous Mr. Reichman of Toronto, I think it's called the Toronto Star, a famous newspaper, said, and this is a Kiddush Hashem, he cleaned up the property business in Toronto. It doesn't mean cleaned up, he scooped it all up for himself. It means he cleaned it up. Every deal was kosher in every single aspect. I knew somebody called Mr. Bamberger in Manchester. He had a business. He would not take a pencil home from his own business, lest it be stealing from, was it tax deductible, not tax deductible? He wouldn't take it from his own business. Could you imagine such a thing? In your office, if you're self-employed, not taking a pencil, just in case it should be accounted to the IRS. They do not fear you regarding the person of those they love you, or those they love. You pose no threat to their money. The opposite is also true. You trust them because you know that doesn't lie in their power of any of Hashem's creation to cause gain or pain. You neither fear them nor seek their favors. Person who's got no certainty in Hashem or trust in Hashem, he's always desires what they have and he's jealous of them. He's always scared of people and they know that they can't trust him. Oh. The seventh and last difference, and that's really the end of chapter 5. So let me hold you here a few minutes more because it would be nice to finish our whole chapter together. The last and seventh difference between the two concerns a general philosophy and worldview. As a Baal B'tochen, you're remarkably free from anxiety. Well, this is an anxious time. It would be lovely if we could package this, and we can. It's a book called Shaar HaBitachon. To be free from anxiety, whether you've been unable to fulfill an ambition or lost something precious. This is because you're unconcerned about the future. After all, you know whether you will, you do not know whether you'll be still in this world tomorrow. So you do not burden yourself to earn more than you need. It's all B'yad Hashem. I'm going to try and get all the money in the world for me today to spend tomorrow. Maybe there will be no tomorrow. Maybe Hashem will want your soul back again. The same way that you trust Hashem that He gives you a certain amount of time in the world, you know that He calculates and prepares your livelihood and your income. This is the famous Gemara in Saita. Everybody knows, it's right, based on an Aleph. Everybody knows that it says that Arbaim Yam Kodim Yitziras Havlad, at the very moment of conception is the Pshat. The very moment when you and I were conceived, a fertilization of a cell, which is going to start splitting and create a whole life. At that moment of conception, a heavenly voice says, Bas Ploini de Ploini. This girl is fated to marry this boy is fated to marry this girl. But then it says, and this house, and you're going to have this house, and you're going to have this field, that means your income. That means everything that was supposed to be in your life was already fixed from Hashem. So what's your problem? Why are you worried? Obviously somebody who doesn't have that certainty and is filled with anxiety. That's basically a quick dash from chapter 5, which takes us to chapter 6, at least in my version, with a nice big heart on it, because it's called Refuah Zalev. And the reason it's called Refuah Zalev, incidentally, is, as I don't know if I told you that at the beginning, because in the parish of the Vilna Gaon, the Seder of the Vilna Gaon, he says an incredibly interesting thing. If you go to the doctor and you're in pain, he might be able to cure you, please God, of the pain you're feeling now, and so in the future you won't have that pain, but you can do nothing about the pain you felt before. But if you have B'tochen, it puts everything in your life and the suffering that you've had before into context, and suddenly all the pain, past, present, and future, disappears. That's why I've got a little heart on the book. After all, it's called Lvovitch anyway. We're up to chapter 6. There's only 2 little bits left. We'll extract that, contract it into one little 20-minute share tomorrow night, and that will be just before Pesach. These share them together, I hope, if you're able to review them and look at the videos that accompany this, it will be helpful and it will be a therapy for you and I going into this Pesach. See you tomorrow night for our last share together.
Thank you.